Today we're going to take a look at a different body shell, and this time it's the hardtop with windows, or the station wagon version, again based on a Series 3 109, and there are 8 different colours to choose from. We'll also take a look at some of the differences that have occurred during their production run. But first we'll take the news. In episode 14, I mentioned that I'd seen this Land Rover on a German website and that I'd noticed that it had odd wheels on it, and they appeared to have come from the Red Cross ambulance version. And as the item had sold, I was unable to verify if this was actually the case. I then spotted the one we see now, and this also appeared to have different wheels. But comparing the two, it was obvious they were from different batches, because one had a Type 1 vent panel and one had a Type 2. So it was quite a cheap listing was this one, so I thought we'd take the chance, and it duly arrived. And quite disappointingly, it turned out to be just a standard issue model. Now, I don't suspect there's any impropriety on behalf of the seller, as having a close look at the model and the photograph they put up on the website, it is the same model. Blemishes are in the same place, etc. So it's just what I suspect is going on here is it's the way the digital camera, or maybe an iPhone or whatever, it interprets the image colours differently depending on what the base material is and the depth of paint, etc. It's something that we're going to come across when we move on to the next section of models later in this video. So given that information, do I still think the first one still exists? The colour difference seems a lot stronger, so on balance I would say it probably does, but in the meantime I'll be listing it as a blue entry, and fingers crossed I might find it one day. We now take our first detailed look at the station wagon versions of these little models. And as you can see, there are 8 to choose from. And just to echo back on the previous article we were discussing, some of the colours in this range are very difficult to decipher when viewing photographs of them on the likes of eBay, etc., which seem to be about the only place you can find these, especially if you're seeking some of the older releases. The two colours that give particular problems are the difference between the blue and the dark blue, and also the difference between the red and the dark red. As you can see here, they look very similar. However, once you get the model in your hand, it is quite evident that the shades are completely different. This body style does not seem to be as common as some of the other ones that we've viewed in this series, and they've been released as standalone models, but also paired with about 4 different speedboats. And here's where one of the changes comes in, because some of them seem to be fitted with a small tow bar, whilst a few of them don't seem to have this at all, and it is just replaced by a short stub. Whilst we're on the rear of these vehicles, all seem to be fitted with roofline spotlight and also painted rear windows. The roofline on these models can be white if it's an early one, or as Oxford have started to re-release these, a cream stroke beige colour. The wheels up to press have all been Type B and have been silver in colour. The vent panels have all been Type 1 and have all been silver also. At the front end, the headlamps don't seem to have undergone the changes that other models have under the Oxford re-release programme, and the whole range has always borne the registration mark WXX. We now move to the base plate, and this is essentially the same as what's been fitted to the previous models. However, there is one change where it concerns the rear rivet. Now, this has moved from the fuel tank in the later models to just to the rear of the fuel tank, and it is placed in the centre of the vehicle. The tailpipe seems to have survived the transition through the Oxford re-releases, and it would be nice to see if this remained the case. Also, none of these have appeared with painted axles and exhaust, etc. So this was probably a later model and never went through that transition. Also, the lack of any evidence of Type A wheels ever being fitted would also back this up. The branding section on these models have gone from the Hongwell branding through to the just overprinted with rough plastic through to the totally clear base plates we've been seeing on the newer ones. Well, that brings us to the end of this overview. In the next video, we'll be taking a closer look at what's available in each of the colour schemes. These don't crop up that often, and so I haven't got that many in the collection, but we can inform you on what we know and ones we suspect to be out there. So we'll see you then. So until the next one, happy collecting.